everyone, my name's Emma. Today we are talking about the 10 truths about veganism that aren't necessarily true. When it comes to choices and decisions, the ones we make with more intention will help us create a world that we want to live in. So we talk about here on this channel, how can we take our power back every single day by choosing to live with more intention? Last week we talked about what veganism is not, and I'm going to post the same definition about veganism that I used for that video down below, and I will link that video here. And what I want to say on top of that is I will put a timestamp of all the 10 different truths that I talk about, and let's get into it. The first one we're going to talk about is veganism is expensive. Now, the top leading organizations in the world that feed people who do not have enough food feed them through a vegan diet because of the fact that it is the cheapest diet to give them. When it comes to going to a grocery store, the cheapest items usually are rice and cans of beans and frozen vegetables and fresh fruits and vegetables as well. When I was in college, I actually spent the least amount of money on my food than all my friends, and a great deal of them also bought, the fruits and the vegetables and the beans and the rice, but then they also went and got the most organic meat, which usually costs $15 to $20. So we got mostly the same things, and then because they chose to buy animal products, they ended up spending more money. Now, if you are going to go into a vegan diet and buy the vegan alternatives to animal products, such as ice cream and the vegan meats and cheeses, yes, it will get more expensive, but of course, the actual animal products cost quite a bit themselves too, and we are getting to a point where the prices for the alternatives and for the animal products are pretty comparable. So that is one of the things that a lot of people tell me, that it's too expensive, so it's really not. And now we're going to get into vegans are elitists. This is something that has been perpetuated for a long time due to the fact that there is quite a bit of whitewashing in veganism, where this idea that only white people are vegan and that vegans have now stolen a lot of ethnic foods and forced them into this new vegan realm and trying to erase a lot of cultures. And that does happen quite a bit, that the face of veganism is usually a white person. And I understand that I am a white person that is saying this, but I want to say it to bring up this point that there is a great deal of people, and a majority of the people who practice veganism are not white, and that we need to stop spreading this idea that it's elitist, that it's only for white people, that it's separating them from other people and looking down upon them, when actually the majority of people who practice veganism already are not white, and that we all need to embrace what is happening in the world through the true lens of the truth. So that's what I want to say about that, that when there is whitewashing, we need to counteract that with the whole idea of what veganism is, which is we are trying to reduce oppression from all living animals, human and non-human alike. So that is what veganism is. Next point, veganisms don't care about human rights. Well, if we look at the definition of veganism, it is to reduce cruelty and oppression and exploitation of human and non-human animals. So in the definition itself, it is trying to reduce the harm to all living beings, not just animals and not just humans, but all collectively. And a lot of times the word vegan is interchanged with a vegan diet or a plant-based diet, and that's where a lot of people think the vegan movement ends, is at this fine line of, well, we just don't eat animals. But there's a lot of other parts to veganism that aren't often talked about, and that's why I want to be here with you today, and to really bring up this point that humans are animals, and that veganism is really striving to end the oppression, exploitation, and cruelty of all human and non-human animals. So veganism, by definition, cares about human and animal rights and reducing exploitation in all regards to all living beings. Another big one is veganism does not allow for you to really eat out at restaurants, and that it's always the vegan that's picking where they can go out and eat and all of these things. And for a long time, there was a lot less option in restaurants, but especially with the movement growing to the rate that it has, there's many more options. And of course, there's always options on menus because a majority of restaurants do not just serve meat. There's always rice and potatoes and french fries and salads and lots of other things. And being vegan does not reduce the amount of fun that you can have in your life. And there's always places that you can go. There's always things that can be done besides going to a restaurant that just serves meat. And I would be hard-pressed to find a place that serves no vegan alternatives, especially at this point where so many fast food restaurants are really pursuing having more vegan options. So check out some of the links down below. I will post a few new things that are popping up in the world of veganism and where you can go out to eat, and there's always so many new places that are coming up all the time. Now the next one. Vegans are unhealthy. There's not enough protein. They don't have enough minerals. There's not enough B12. And I don't have a nutrition degree. My brother does, and he did tell me quite a bit of this stuff. But of course, go and I encourage you to check out everything for yourself. This is just my viewpoints on all of this. But when it comes to the nutrition aspect, a lot of us really don't know where our food comes from or what it actually entails. And I want to share with you that trying to reduce any product, any type of food to just one core piece of nutrient or one core of what, if you were trying to reduce beef to saying, well, it's just protein, that is not true. There is amino acids in meat, but that is not all of what is inside of it. And trying to reduce all of what is meat to just one substance that it has is not true. It is not real. And trying to say that, well, veganism just doesn't allow you to get enough protein. It doesn't just allow you to get enough B12. And B12 is a product of bacteria in soil, and it is something that no animal on the earth can produce and no plant can, but it comes from bacteria and it comes in dirt. And because of how sterile of an environment that we live in, nobody has access to enough B12. So it's not just vegans that should be supplementing B12, it is everyone. Even if you choose not to be vegan, everybody should be supplementing it, and most people don't. So when it comes to trying to pick apart veganism for their nutrition guarantees or that they're not healthy enough, we need to really take a step back and understand how much do we even know about nutrition, and how do we know that what we are eating is actually good for us? Is it because that's what our parents fed us? Our ancestors ate meat. That is what a lot of people will say to try to justify their actions. And if we are going to justify any action based off of what was done before, then we can justify a lot of things that we no longer morally identify with or believe is okay. And to go further into this idea that our ancestors ate meat, so it's okay, well, I would argue that a majority of our ancestors did not eat meat. It's a lot easier to pick vegetables and to eat them and to throw a potato in a fire than it would be to try and kill any wild animal with any kind of tools that you have. Even trying to kill a rabbit without the more advanced technologies that we have now would be a lot harder than we think it is. And especially during that time, you would need to refrigerate meat, we all know that, in order for it to not start rotting and to have all this bacteria. So even if they were to take down a wildebeest or whatever, a huge animal, they wouldn't be able to eat all of that meat at once. And even if they were to cook it all, it would still go bad because bacteria would continue to grow on it because they don't have a way to refrigerate it. So eating meat was probably not an essential part of their life because of the logistics of it. And just because even if they did, which I will list different articles down below that go into the more logical aspect of it, of how it doesn't make sense that that's what they survived off of. Thinking about well, they did it, I should be able to do it too. We could justify a lot of things that are unjustifiable that way, and it becomes a slippery slope of, well, if we're going to let this happen, what else would you be able to justify with that? And if it's not good for a majority of those justifications, why are we doing it for this? A lot of people think being vegan is restrictive, and it's very interesting because as a vegan or following a vegan diet, you can explore so many different cultures and so many different foods, and a lot of them don't have meat as their main course. There's many different creations of vegetarian, vegan options that don't involve any animal products all across the world. And to that point, a lot of people will eat the same dead animals over and over and over again. And to me, that seems restrictive in and of itself as well. So, is it really restricted? There's over 80,000 edible plants in the world, and there's probably the same 3 dead animals continuing to be eaten over and over again. And being restrictive is something that is continued to be said about it, but people don't eat this huge varied diet anyway, and aspects to do with it as well. Another big one is people say there are worse things happening in the world. Well, the thing is, if we are going to say, well, there's something worse happening, I'm just not going to do anything in regards to something else, there's always something else happening in the world. We can't justify not doing something in regards to something that we can do something about by saying, well, there's worse things happening. There's always worse things happening. Well, why would you continue to increase the suffering in the world if you don't have to, if there's just other things that are happening? And like we said before, veganism actually intersects in a lot of different ways and covers a lot of those topics that people claim to care about, but through their actions prove that they don't actually care about. So there is a lot of hypocrisy with not knowing what veganism actually is, with just trying to prove that they are fine with the way that they're living their life. They're just trying to justify to themselves what they're doing, and it's not right. So, and another one is, well, just what's the point? You can't save any animals. It doesn't matter if you're vegan or not. Well, with that idea that I'm just one person, I don't matter, we've now gotten to a point where it's time for us to care, or the world that we know it is going to end. Because what we are trying to do with all of this is trying to save humanity through veganism directly. Because the planet will be fine. The earth will be fine. If all humans went extinct, the earth will be fine. There will be new species that rise. The earth will be okay. What we're actually trying to do when we say save the earth, climate change is real, is the human aspect of it is destroying people, destroying animals, and destroying each other in the process. So saying that there's no point to it is literally saying that saving humanity isn't worth it. And a lot of people think that veganism is trying to say that animals are equal to human. That is not what veganism is meant to do. It is just trying to say that all living animals should live free from exploitation and oppression and cruelty. And we are not equating any life to being as equal to one another, just that all life is equally deserving of being lived. That doesn't mean you need to equate a cat to a human life, of course, but we don't need to oppress a cat any more than we need to oppress a human. That is the point of veganism, to say that veganism in its entirety is trying to reduce exploitation and cruelty and oppression to human, non-human animals. And that is what all of this is trying to say, all of these different points. There are so many more. These are just the top ones that I've been told constantly and consistently over and over again. Well, we can all come up with excuses all day and all night. But the thing is, there's a lot of truth out there, And many of us need to continue to engage with those different perspectives, those different ideas, and to continue to hold ourselves accountable to what we believe in and to practice actions that correlate with what we believe in right now. We can't wait for somebody else to save the planet. We can't wait for somebody else to step up and be vegan for us. We all need to make choices and decisions right now to create the world that we want to live in. You get to choose to live with intention every single time you have the ability to make a choice. Every single action you do, every single moment in time is by choice. You get to choose. Some things you may not be able to, but there's a lot of things you can choose, especially how you react to certain things. If you're vegan and if you have faced many of these different scenarios or things that people have said, list down below what you've said in response. If you've just ignored it, sometimes just being silent and not responding to someone is the best way to go about it, because if they're constantly trying to prove to themselves that what they're doing is morally okay, then there must be a reason why they think it's not. And that is a journey that we all have to go through. We all have to get to a point where we're able to justify our own actions to ourselves if we want to be conscious beings actively working towards creating a better world and a better life. I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope you got something out of it. If you disagreed, let me know down below as well. There is lots of things that are happening, and there needs to be a place for these uncomfortable conversations to continue to happen. There is a world out there that we, as a majority, don't know enough about, but we make decisions and choices every single day that affect it negatively. And we could be making ones that affect it positively. So the choice is yours. It always has been. What are you going to do? What are you going to choose? I hope you got something out of this video, and I hope to see you soon. But until then, I hope you have an amazing day.